Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a brand new episode, our first in 2025 to Little Rapids. I hope everyone had a wonderful winter, 2024 into 2025. Hope everybody's doing well. But it's that time of year. So, normally, if you have been following along, our journey really starts in the garden. However, in actuality, it starts right here in my basement. So what I wanted to try this year is to kind of show you more of the overall experience, especially for those of you that may be interested in getting into gardening, and not only gardening but starting your own seeds. So I'm going to do my best to kind of show you, take you along what I do. Spoiler alert, I am not a professional. However, I think this is my third season starting seeds in the basement. Third, maybe four. So I do have some knowledge, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I continue to make a lot of mistakes. But regardless, so all right, so we're gonna get started now. It's the middle of March, and I already started stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you kind of where we are and what we're going to do today. So in years past, I used to start a bunch of seeds. I used to start herbs like oregano and basil and onions, along with tomatoes and peppers, and I always struggled with that. Last year, I actually just sprinkled basil seeds out where I wanted them to go outside, and they did great. So we scratched that. I kind of refined the system. I am only starting tomatoes and peppers, at least for right now, in the basement. So, let's see here. Let's see if I can get this in front of you. Okay. So, as you can see, on 2/28, I started. Now, these are, this is just for me, for my seed trays. You'll see in a minute. But this is a 6-cell, which is one of these. So that's what we use to start our seeds. So this is there's 72 cells here. If you're following along, that's 8 of these 6 cells equals 72. And we label them, and I have these are my peppers. I got 2 trays of peppers, and then I also in March 7th to be exact, I started my tomatoes. Peppers take a little bit longer than tomatoes, so I staggered them. Last year I made the mistake of starting too early, so this year I'm trying to find that balance. I'm trying to find out when is the best time to start. So I waited a little bit longer this year. So we'll see what happens. All right. I guess I'll give you a little tour of this is my basement. It is a hot water heater, but this is the seed starting area. So this is a little stand I made, and I have, as you can see, there's 3 lights up there and a shelf, and then in the middle I have a shelf with some lights, and then down here I have a shelf. There's some lights, which will all be in use, but for right now I just have the middle, and these are my start. So these are tomatoes, and these are peppers. The one thing I did this year, well, and these are, this is kind of a mix. This is a humidity dome. But we'll get to that. But one thing I did this year was I tried, I make my own seed starting mix, and we'll get into that as well. But I used, you can either use like a cocoa coir base, or you can use like a peat moss base. And there's benefits, I guess. I don't know. There's arguments for both. Some people think that peat moss is unsustainable up in Canada, and we're destroying the wilderness or nature out there. And others say that it's completely sustainable. It's all good. So do what you want with that information. Do your own research, I guess. And cocoa coir is like the husk of a coconut, and that can be used as well. So I don't know if one is better than the other. That's kind of what I wanted to do. I did for each, I did 2 trays of peppers, 2 trays of tomatoes, but I did 1 tray of cocoa coir, 1 tray of peat moss, just to see if there was any difference. And I don't know. I don't know if there is. So it's still a little early, but as far as things coming up, I guess we'll take a look at, again, all these. 2 of these were peppers, 2 of these tomatoes, but we'll take the humidity dome off here and take a look. I guess the biggest tell would be what's left that hasn't sprouted yet. So you can see there's a lot of, I guess there's a mix, but let's see the white numbers. Let's take a look. Is the cocoa coir. So I would say peat moss is in the lead, but not by much. So whether that's an effective test or not, only time will tell. All right, let me put you down here. So what we're going to do today is I did kind of a brief inventory of the seedlings. I recommend this, kind of going back and seeing what sprouted and what didn't. So this is kind of like the second wave. Now that it's been a couple weeks with the tomatoes and peppers, I can see what came up and what didn't. What I tried to do is, normally when you plant seedlings, you put a couple seeds in there just in case. I kind of went on this, I just wanted to put 1 seed in each cell. So as you can see, there's only, if that seed sprouted, you can see it. If it didn't sprout, well, there's nothing there. So over time, seed packets will lose their germination rate. It doesn't mean that a seed packet from 3 years ago was bad, throw it out. It's just that it may have went from like a 95% germination rate to a 80% germination rate. So you just need to know that when planting your seeds. So the ones that we're going to plant today clearly had issues sprouting initially. So we're going to a little overdo the seeding a little bit, just to ensure, or do our best to ensure, that these varieties are in the garden this year. All right, I think that is that's a good tee up there. As we go along, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please put them in the chat below, and I will do my best to answer them. But I think next steps, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I make our seed starting mix, and then we're going to get to planting. All right, so with that, and if you need to know anything about like what I'm using, again, just comment below and I'll let you know. We are not sophisticated enough to put links of everything in the bottom yet. So over here, I'm gonna go for a little walk. In these bins, I have all my ingredients, because making seed starting mix is, well, you need your ingredients. So I'll give you a little tour. This is the cocoa core. And then down here we have perlite. And here we have nothing. That was peat moss. Nothing in there. We got worm castings, vermiculite, and we have a fertilizer. This is a like a organic vegetable fertilizer. So those are the ingredients. Now we are going to use, I do have some extra from before, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a little sample of how we make it. And go from there. So, let's see. Okay. Now, if you're making your own mix, I highly recommend you get some sort of sifting device. Because whether you use peat moss or cocoa core, peat moss is worse than the cocoa core, but you want to get all those big particles out, because it needs to be light and fluffy, and if you have a big solid something in there, it could hurt the seedling. So sift anything and everything that you use. We're going to start off with well, I guess it's the same for both. So let's use some, we're going to use some peat moss. And I'm going to show you why we sift. Okay. Incoming peat moss. So peat moss you get from a bag. It's a pretty big bag, and it's pretty cheap. So at whatever your local Home Depot, Lowe's, or preferred place, but it has it has sticks, and you don't want that. So here is a little sifter. I'm gonna sift it out. And you can see down below, it's a lot finer, even though sometimes sticks can get through, but it catches all these big particles. So it's a simple step, as you can see, but it is a very important one. So after we sift our peat moss, it's a very easy basic ratio of 2 to 1. So 2 parts of peat moss or 2 parts of cocoa core to 1 part of the perlite vermiculite. So you need both, or because this is, if you just have this, there will be no aeration, and it will just get compacted, and the seedlings won't grow. You need light and fluffy, essentially. So that's where the perlite and vermiculite come into play. Now, some people use them interchangeably. I've always done only perlite before. This is the first year where I'm introducing vermiculite. Vermiculite is supposed to be maybe a little bit better, just because perlite is good for aeration, but it doesn't retain any moisture, whereas the vermiculite kind of does both. So what I do is, again, 2 parts peat moss or cocoa core to 1 part perlite vermiculite. So I do half and half, if that makes sense. So if I'm doing 1 part perlite vermiculite, I do half vermiculite, half perlite, just to kind of get a little bit of both. So whatever measurement I used, again, there's no cups, there's no quarts. It's just use a container, whatever you use to measure. Right now we're just we're making it up because I'm just showing you. So you put your perlite in. And put your vermiculite in. And then that's pretty much the seed starting mix. What you want to do is you want to mix it up and add water to the point where it is, well, I guess I'll show you. Normally you just pour water in here, but you want it to get clumpy. And if you squeeze it, you want it to barely, want to hold on to the shape and maybe a drop or two, but that's about it. You don't want to put it in dry because it can be hydrophobic and repel water initially, so you want to get this wet. Let's put in, show you, see how it's kind of moving the water around. It's not as absorbing it right now, and that's where you need to, you get your hands dirty and you need to do some mixing. Now again, I'm not measuring. As far as the water goes, you're just gonna have to eyeball it. You want to get it all nice and wet. And let's see here. Okay, this is too wet. Okay. See when I squeeze and all that water coming out, that's too wet. But once I do squeeze that water out, see, this is what you want. So it's kind of like after you use a sponge and right before you re-wet it, that's kind of the consistency you want. So we're gonna get that done, but this was just a basic how to make the mix. Again, 2 parts to 1 part. Now you'll see when we actually make the mix here in a second. Well, I added a little bit of worm castings and a little bit of the fertilizer. Seedlings have enough nutrients inside the seed there to feed the seedling until like the first to second set of true leaves, and then after that they need help. So a lot of people will say you don't need any nutrients in your seed starting mix, and that is true, but eventually you will. So I like to put a little bit in just for help. And what I mean by true leaves is if you see all these tomatoes, that first set of leaves there, they're all going to look the same. And over here in the peppers as well. But then the second set of leaves, that's where it becomes whatever it is. So you can see the peppers starting to come out with their true set of leaves. Let's see if we can find a tomato. It's a little early yet, but yeah, here's one. Like, ooh, that's gonna work, but yeah. So these are still good. They don't need any nutrients, but eventually, in a couple weeks, they will. So again, I'll try to take you along for the ride this year. But all right, so I'm going to pause, get everything together, and we are going to plant some stuff. All right, we're back. So I set this up. As you can see, there's these 6 cells. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, I counted wrong before, but so 12 times 6 is 72. So there are 12 of these 6 cells. I have labeled them. Of course, labeling is extremely important because you want to know what variety is what. And I even recommend like letters or numbers where like a 6 could be a 9, or an H could be this way or this way. And that could be problematic if you have different varieties within the cell. You won't know which way is up. So always label it so you know. Like here I put a T so I know it's top. I do that with my eyes as well. So T with top. Doesn't need to be for like E. I know which way an E goes, but just a little tip I have learned over the years. So I got my cells in here. I have my mix right here. So this is all ready to go. This is hydrated but not too wet. So we're just going to take this and we're going to fill it up. So generally what I do is I put the initial mix in like that, lightly, very lightly. And then what I'll do is I'll take my 2 fingers and I'll press down a little bit, because you want to keep it airy, but you also don't want air pockets, because air pockets are dry and your seedlings will not like it. So I usually put some in, compress it a little, not hard, but just a little bit, so I can tell it's down there. And then I have, see how you have a little bit of room? And I take some, and I just very lightly spread it over. And that is it. Other pro tip, make sure whatever you write on your cells is dry, because if you start doing this and they're not dry, it rubs off. I have no idea what this is now. See that? So make sure you make sure it dries first. I use these. You can use Sharpies. You can use little paint markers. Whatever it is, just make sure it is dry. So we're going to do that. We're going to let this dry a little bit, the paint marker at least, and then we're going to do exactly what we did here for the rest of them. So we'll see you in a minute. Hey there, we are waiting for as we wait for the paint marker to dry. I figured I'd show you something else. I do apologize if there's background noise. We are in the basement. We are in the room with the HVAC system, and the heat is kicking on. But this right here is what I wanted to show you. This is what we call a photo box. These are available at like any hobby store, like Hobby Lobby, Michaels, and these are designed to hold photographs. So knock everything over. All right, but they make great seed packet holders as well. So inside here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 of these containers, and each container has its own tab and opens up, and as you can see, they fit seed packs very well. So it's a great way to organize, especially once you start getting into gardening. You just collect seed packets because well, that just happens, trust me. So yeah, here's the pro tip of the day. These again are photo storage boxes. They are pretty cheap, They come in clear, and they also have like a rainbow one where there's different colors. And then of course you can just label them however you want, so you know what is where. So I know when it's time to plant my cucumbers, I go in here and I know all my cucumber packets are in here. So very helpful. Highly recommend if you get into seed starting. It can quickly get out of control. So pro tip. Hey everybody, I'm back. I'm not the best videographer, as you may have already noticed, and what I do is I can hit pause on my camera on my phone in video, and then I can unpause and it keeps continuous. However, if you remember from last year, I'm not the best with putting things together, different segments. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a part 1, part 2. This will be part 1. I'm going to end the video here, and then so this is part 1 is all about prep for planting seeds, and then part 2 will actually get into the actual planting of the seeds and putting it over on the heat mat and all that. So 2 parts. That way we keep it under 30 minutes a piece anyways, so it's not one long video. So with that said, hopefully this was helpful. I don't know, comment below, tell me if you like this, if you don't like this. Like I said, we've really only shown the garden. I haven't really spent a lot of time down here in the basement with you guys to kind of show you how everything works, but I figured, you know, this might be helpful. So if it is, give me a like. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, because there's gonna be a lot of exciting things going on this year. All right, till next time.